Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome everyone to the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast. I am your host, Greg Greenlee. And this is a podcast where we talk to people of color who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, change makers, and entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. This is the podcast where they share their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the big community. And joining us tonight to share their experience is Georgie-Ann, Getton-McKoy. And this episode is called Building a Startup While in College. If this is your first time checking us out, you can follow us at www.blacksintechnology.net. That's the website. We are on the Twitters at Black in Technology, and that's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We're also on Facebook.com/Blacks in Technology. We also have a LinkedIn group, Blacks in Technology, and Instagram under Blacks in Technology. We are a tech-focused community and media organization. We're dedicated to increasing the representation and participation of Black women and men in the technology industry. We're always focused on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist our members with their continued growth and development in the world of tech. So if you want to partner with us, send us an email at contactus@blacksintechnology.net. As you may have heard, or if you haven't heard, we are organizing our first inaugural conference that's happening in October 11th through the 13th. It's in the St. Paul, Minneapolis area. It's going to be a 3-day event full of activities, workshops, great speakers, networking after dark, a ton of stuff that's happening, and a ton more, to come as far as information on that. So the first day is going to be focused on tech entrepreneurship. Second day is going to be more of a tech exhibit, career fair, and the third day is going to be full of talks. And all the categories for the talks are tech entrepreneurship, innovation and engineering, tech in your community, and your career in tech. So definitely check us out. The website is up. It's bitcon2018.com. So BITCON 2018.com. Tickets are available now. Right now, there's early bird going on, so tickets are only $99. So check us out, purchase a ticket, come out, have fun. So let's get on with our guest. Our guest tonight is Georgie-Ann Getton-McKoy. She's the founder of Illicit Mind, Inc., a company that develops initiatives to enable the growth of Black and diverse entrepreneurs and techies. She is a young woman who wears many hats. In her personal life, she has a family. In her professional life, she is a Baruch college alum. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. She'll correct me here in a second. Serial entrepreneur, community builder, speaker, author, and diversity and tech evangelist. So, Georgie-Ann, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me, Greg. And yeah, it's Baruch. So
Baruch.
you did get it right the second time.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Baruch College.
Excellent. So, our first kind of standard and common question is, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're from, a little bit about your education.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Jamaica, the island. I moved to the United States, specifically New York, when I was about 7 years old, and I've been here ever since. I graduated last year from Baruch College with my bachelor's in business communications with a specialization in graphic communication. So I love to talk, love to communicate with people, love to connect people, and that's just been my passion since I was a little girl. I love to create community and just think of different ways for people to work together to either solve problems, create change, or just have a good time. I've done everything from event planning to conferences to working on different startups, working for different startups on marketing teams. I've recently held positions at Girls Who Code, Startup Institute, CUNY Startup. So I like to work in fields that have a social impact arm or perspective, and I just love to create different solutions to problems.
Excellent. Sounds like you are very, very busy. Sounds like you definitely wear a lot of hats. So tell us how'd you get into the tech side of the whole thing?
So I got into the tech side from a very young age. While growing up in Jamaica, my dad was a mechanic, and first he did mechanic on trains and cars, and then he slowly transitions into technology, so like cell phones, video games, TVs. And in the Caribbean, I don't know if you have like a lot of listeners or just folks that know, you don't just buy something new when it breaks. You fix it. So as a child, nice. I got a lot of opportunities to get different games and electronic toys and phones before everyone else, and we were kind of like his testers. He'd give it to us kids to kind of break it and fix it back, and so I had like a love for technology from that young age, and seeing him fix the stuff, I would participate in that. And then when I moved here, even more technology, so computers. I had a desktop and laptop and cell phones before many of my peers, even in the United States. And so just seeing how much opportunities came out of, the internet or just using the technology, I just was addicted in a good and bad way, because now I'm super addicted, but slowly backing up. And I just saw the tremendous opportunities and access given when you use technology the right way, and I wanted to help others capitalize on that opportunity.
Excellent, and shout out to your dad. Early exposure is definitely a key to even understanding that technology is an opportunity and is an option for especially young people nowadays. So. Yeah, shout out to your dad for introducing you to the world of tech. So, excellent. So, this podcast is called Building a Startup While in College. And I thought this would be very interesting as a topic because you are already, juggling a full course load while in college, right? It's already hard enough to stay on top of grades and, stay on top of your classes. And here you are building a startup while you were in college. So tell me this, why embark on something like this? Why embark on building a startup while in college?
I've always been a person to fill my plate. And anyone could tell you, from my parents to friends, when I set my mind on something, I go for it no matter what anyone says, which is good and bad. And so I was on the traditional path of becoming an accountant. So, that was like the safe job, especially as an immigrant. Your parents encourage you to do something, more safe: nursing, doctor, lawyer, accounting. And, I was on that path, and I was like, I'm interested. I really want to start my own business. I want to start something. So I launched my first company back in my freshman year of college, and it was like a small clothing line, t-shirt company, and it did okay. And I was just like, from there, it was like, once I got a taste, I was like, I need more of this. I really want to do more and launch more companies. And with my passion for technology, I found out about the New York tech ecosystem. I was like, okay, it's the perfect time. And then I quit my job and really spent more time, investing in how can I learn more about this ecosystem? How can I partake in it? What can I build? Who can I work with, connect with? And I just ended up everywhere. People just knew my face at all the different events, at all the different workshops. And at the time, I had my son with me, who was about 3 years old, and I would drag him everywhere, after school. When I would go to like evening networking events or the New York Tech meetup, I'd bring him along. And so, I just became that like face that everyone saw everywhere, volunteering for events, and just, I just really fell in love with being an entrepreneur and using technology to create businesses.
Very, very cool. And I think it's commendable, that you were bringing your son, your child. Is it a boy? Is that correct? Did you say your son?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bringing him around, and I mean, even that, for him at an early age, that introduces him to that atmosphere, that circle. So bringing him into it is incredible. So let me ask you this: how'd you start finding? How'd you find these events to attend? You were saying that you were attending, different networking events and different events that that were within the tech ecosystem. How'd you go about finding these events?
So I actually have an exact story of how it came along. So
Okay.
I read a book called the summer that I quit my job because I was working like a full-time job at Foot Locker, and I was in school. I read a book called Choose Yourself because I was feeling down. Like I knew I had the entrepreneurial bug after like I closed down my the clothing line, but I didn't know what to do next. And a lot of family and friends were sort of discouraging that, they're like, you have a lot of responsibilities, finish school, focus on that, you have a good job, kind of stay in the safe zone for now. And I knew I wanted to do more. So I searched the Kindle library for the cheapest self-help book I could find because I was like in a kind of like a deep place. And it was called Choose Yourself by James Altucher. And I read the book, loved it, and that encouraged me to take the leap and go to full-time entrepreneurship. And then once I did that, I participated in an event that Startup was hosting where they had James Altucher. So the fact that they have since shut down, but it was like a company started by Anthony Fraser, James Lopez, who are in the tech ecosystem in New York specifically, and it was about mixed
is that the
hip-hop
Tech 808?
technology. Yeah, they did Tech 808.
Okay.
Yep, that's them.
Yep. Yeah.
They did Tech 808, and so they had James Altucher come in because Anthony also read the book, and they were big fans of him. So they had him come in and talk about entrepreneurship, and I found out about that event since I was like following James Altucher time, and still following him now. Great author, great person. And so I went to that event, and from there I was like, what do you guys do? Tech 808. Fast Startup. What is this? And so I found out that this whole ecosystem and economy in New York City focused on tech, of color, hip hop, art, just so many different aspects to the entrepreneurial ecosystem and the startup ecosystem itself. Like this thing existed. Like I was the only interested or pursuing these passions, and from there, searching Eventbrite, I was following all their social media, and then other attendees at the event. A lot of people were entrepreneurs, following them, seeing what they're participating in, see what they were hosting, and once you hit that first domino, everything else just kind of happened from there.
Falls in place, right? Excellent. So let me ask you this: you're in college, you're juggling a full course load, you're on your journey through the entrepreneurial world. Tell us, and we're going to get into your startup here in a second. I want to, kind of focus a little bit on just kind of the college experience. Like, what are some organizational tips? Because, having that much on your plate, you have to have some type of organization to yourself, right? Like time management, like, you have to be able to context switch pretty quickly and things like that. So what are some like time management tips or maybe some apps that you used that help you along your journey?
I would like to first say Google Calendar of your life. So everything was in my Google Calendar, from, hanging out with friends and family to where I needed to be, when I needed to be there, how long I needed to be there. So just really having that. Then I also had a physical calendar, like a small little notebook calendar that you could pick up at like Target or any store. I had one of those. So I had the physical calendar that I penciled things into, then the Google Calendar that was connecting all my different emails and just anything that I needed to have scheduled. And in terms of school, right, every semester when the class schedule was going to be made, I made sure, if they said schedule opens on June 14th, at June 14th, so whatever time of the day that I was able to register, I was searching and registering. A lot of schools, they allow you to see the schedule before you're actually able to register. So I'd make sure that, the days and times of classes made it. So even if I had to go to school, sometimes I would just go fully Monday and Wednesday so that I would have the other days of the week completely. So I'd go to school from maybe like 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. and I'd have 4 classes back to back. So like spreading my class days at random times because I knew, time was valuable. And then the saying, people make time for what they want and what is important. I made sure that, I was making time for the events that I wanted to attend. If I was volunteering at an event, childcare was in check because I also had homework time. And when I was taking the classes, right? And then also taking classes all one day allowed me to have more physical time at school. So if I had 2 classes in the morning, 2 classes in the afternoon, that during like the lunchtime, then I could do homework, work on projects, just being at the school physically. I also took Friday classes, tried to avoid weekend classes a bit, but just really making sure that I knew when networking events happen, which is 6 to 9 p.m. on like Thursdays was a lot of events happening. Tuesday to Thursday was like event. Having that evening cleared. Being a part of different newsletters, so like the Gary's Guide in New York City, New Tech Meetup newsletter that would publish events, Eventbrite account. So just being on platforms and being in the places where I would like really see what's happening, how can I attend it, and how can I sign up for it was like a big thing. Really important. And again, Google Calendar will save your life. And another tip for the Google Calendar.
And tell us, you talked about, some of your time management tips, and you use Google Calendar a lot. I use it, and it's right now it's if it's not in the calendar, it's not happening. That's kind of my my philosophy towards that. So. Tell us, were you able to kind of apply any of your startup activities towards college credit, and if so, kind of what's the process for doing that?
I actually wasn't because I found out about the process a bit too late. So I would say anyone in the future that is interested in like applying startup activities, now more colleges are offering. College credit for internships, college credit for starting a startup. Most campuses have an accelerator or partner with an accelerator program. So credit-wise, it didn't happen, but I was a part of the CUNY Startup Accelerator that was out of Baruch, my college, that happened in 2015. So I was a part of the fall 2015 cohort of that, so I got access to that by being a student, but it didn't count for any like college credits or anything like that. Now a lot of schools are offering stipends and credit. They'll pay you and give you college credit for participating in the startup.
Excellent. And excellent. So it's nice to know that colleges are really coming in line with the times, especially with it seems like they would have already kind of started that, being that a lot of the these successful tech companies come from students that they were started, these tech companies while they were students, and then they eventually dropped out, but you would think that they would have already been doing this, but it's good to hear that they have that practice in place. So what are some do's and some don'ts when starting, when founding a startup in college? Like, give us like maybe two of each, like do's and don'ts of, hey, don't do this because this didn't work for me, and this is what you definitely want to do.
Yeah, I would start with the don't.
Okay.
Don't take it lightly. You will get consumed. College is very consuming. The workload is already consuming, and then you have like a whole company that you're in charge of. So just be very mindful of that, and just take time if you need to take a step back from either of those things to just really focus on you and just like grounding yourself in that. Because I did get consumed by it a couple times, and I would obsess over like I'm gonna quit college, and then 2 days later I'm gonna quit the startup. So just really take your time. Just take your time. And then the don't is don't spend too much of your time or money on like the startup. If you see something not working, pivot. So a lot of people would, if they see it not working, maybe I'll just fix it, or it'll work eventually. Fail fast, right? Just with any startup, whether you're in college or not, just fail fast and learn from that mistake that you made, and then pivot and build something bigger and better. Because, you're going to get to yourself and overthink a lot. So just, if something's not working, I would say max it at 2 times. Don't even there's no 3 times the charm. Max it at 2 times, because once you hit 3, never gonna stop. You're just gonna keep thinking it's gonna work eventually. So just kind of give it up and then like be flexible enough to pivot. And then I would say definitely do network with your peers, right? You have hundreds of thousands of folks on your campus, at your school. That could be, your CTO, your CFO, team members of your startup. So, most people start as solo founders, but if you can find a co-founder or a team early on, that's the best thing to do. And then the last to do is, again, another networking tip, find a support network, whether it's the co-working lab at your school, the entrepreneurial lab at your school, friends and network ecosystem that in the community that you live in, the tech ecosystem where you live, because in those times that there are down moments, you're going to need folks that get it and really understand why you decided to take entrepreneurial path, and not folks that are just like, oh, just give up, you could do something else, or get a job here and there. It's really discouraging, and it also doesn't make you feel better. It just makes it, however you feel, you're going to feel 100% worse. So just be in have, your regular friends and family network, but also have a startup and tech ecosystem support network.
Oh, excellent advice on some do's and don'ts. So now let's pivot a little bit and talk about your actual startup. Tell us, what your startup is and what problem is your startup trying to solve?
Yeah, so my startup is called Illicit Mind, and what we do is we help offer like some of that support network to get diverse, young, Black Latino entrepreneurs to the point of executing their business. So we know you could get lost in sauce very easily with mass information, a lot of tools and resources, or the lack of tools and resources. So there's a big issue if you don't know what you don't know, or do know too much. You're not doing. You're just sitting down and like kind of anticipating or planning or researching, but you're not actually executing on your goals and your accomplishments that you hope to achieve with your startup. So we want to get to the doing part of it all and kind of get out of their head and support them with whatever questions or knowledge that they need. And we even do like a deeper dive if they need to build out, a roadmap, if they need to build out a system of accountability. We're just really getting folks we have a little slogan called less dreaming, more doing. So getting them to the point of being doers.
Very, very nice. And so how did you go about, building your team? Like, did they consist of other students? What was that process like?
Yeah, so our team consists of, pretty much everyone was a student when we met, and was like pursuing some form of like higher education. So we all met in that scope, and we just thought it was a good fit based on who we're targeting, folks that look like us and come from backgrounds that we come from, and just folks that are really entrepreneurial and just need that extra boost of how can we execute, how can we get stuff done. And we joined forces. We have a team of 4 right now. Some folks have come in the company and then left, or we've had interns, but, the whole way through, all team members have been really passionate about the goal of helping others to launch and execute their businesses.
Very nice. And that brings up another question around building a team. So, you're building a startup while in college, right? And I know that interns are one of the ways in which young companies are able to leverage students to help with some of the daily duties within a startup, right? Especially if they don't have the financial resources to shell out a bunch of money for full-time hires. Being that you're building your startup in college, did you actually utilize a lot of interns as well? Like, what was that like? Because you're in college and now you're saying you're reaching out and saying I need interns. So how'd that work?
Yeah, so in college, when you're like interns, it's like more so like college. It's like, hey, are you interested in this? Would you be able to help with this? And a lot of folks, are excited to add it to their portfolios. excited to use it as like examples of the work that they're doing, especially folks that are about to graduate. They want to have, some type of experience to show when they're jumping into the workforce, or folks that are just general. So, I did work with a bunch of folks that were in my classes, or just that I met that were in college in the ecosystem. And then I also did a couple of for hire, like I used like Fiverr a couple times to do design work in the early stages, or just outsource some tasks. But most everyone, it was a mutually beneficial agreement where they were getting the experience and portfolio features for their future endeavors. So everyone benefited from it.
Nice, very nice. And like, how did you fund your idea? Was it did you have any sources of funding, investors, or anything like that?
No. So what I did was I did a lot of part-time gigs, random gigs, whatever, and I also did a lot of freelancing, whether it was part-time work, marketing, creating plans for people, planning events for others. So I did a lot of that kind of work to fund it. And then we would charge, like in the beginning we had like a lot of events and we charged ticket sales. So it was like it funded itself. And then I got a couple of grants from when I participated in a few different business competitions, like the CUNY Accelerator program. So, it always broke even or ends were met. So that which is something I'm really thankful for. A lot of startups don't even get to that point. Even startups that do get, thousands or millions of dollars of funding. So I'm really satisfied with the use of funds over the years.
Got you. And earlier in the conversation you were mentioning the guys from Tech 808 and being being amongst that tech ecosystem, which is great because, when BIT was first started, there wasn't a lot of organizations. There weren't a lot of companies and, events and things like that kind of catered to minority tech founders, right? And so it's great that you were able to kind of have that support system with some of the organizations up in NY. But there's still very few Black founders, even fewer of those are women. Like, how's your experience been as a Black woman building a startup?
It sometimes it's discouraging, but a lot of the time it's really encouraging. A lot of people are really supportive. A lot of people kind of give you access to. Well, I've received a lot of different access. Some have been folks that have diversity and inclusion initiatives are trying to push growth of like Black women in tech. And for a short amount of time, I did feel, I want to like earn my seat and not like be given one for a quota that needs to be met. But I realized that somewhere along the line the debt was paid, so I have earned my seat, And so just whatever opportunities that I do get, I make sure to open the door for anyone else that's out there. I make the call of action if I see if there are scholarships or programs or mentorship, just whatever access and opportunities that I get. Any other minority founders, female founders, young founders that I see, I try to pass along opportunities. If I can't take advantage of it, I make sure I spread it with my network and just really paying it forward, as well as like accepting when it is paid forward to me. So just really being authentic about that transaction and being authentic about the connections and the people that I meet. But it's been sometimes, you feel like I'm the only one in the room. I have to represent everyone, but just kind of be yourself and don't overthink it, because I did do that for a long time, and certain things, might have come off as racial or sexist, but just, hold your ground, stand your ground, and just be confident in your position, and you do belong in the room. All I have is the biggest thing I have to say. Like, don't think you don't belong anywhere else but in that room, at that table, or in that role that you're in. You definitely belong there.
I love it. I love what you're saying. One, be authentic, be yourself, and then be confident in who you are. I think that's a huge. I think that's great advice especially for people coming up in tech and wanting to start, tech companies and things like that. Mainly because there's so many negative headlines out there. Let's put it like this. I'm not going to say they're negative. They're positive in a way that they help address the problem, or bring the problem to light and help address the problem. I would say that there's a lot of press out there that can be discouraging. Let's put it like that. I think that's a better term to use. It's pretty discouraging, especially when you hear about a lot of the sexist and racist, situations that happen within tech. For someone looking from the outside in and wanting to, they're on the fence about getting into this ecosystem. That can be discouraging. So it's great to hear someone who is on the front line, who is doing the hard work, saying like, hey, there's going to be some battles. You have to stand your ground, but you have to be confident and understand that, and say to yourself that you belong in this space. And I think that's really powerful for people that's listening, that's thinking about getting into this, because it's easy to feel othered, especially when you're the only one in the room. But if you go in and you have that confidence and just keep saying to yourself, I belong here, then it can definitely help you get through those situations. So. Yeah, excellent. So tell us, diversity is something that it sounds like you're pretty passionate about. Tell us what are some of is that something that as you grow your startup that's part of your I guess part of your company's character? Is it embedded in your company that we're going to be a diverse company?
Yeah, definitely 100%, because I feel that we're all on this earth together, so everyone is gonna have to work together, be in the same room at a time. And so when I think of diversity, I think of more so inclusion. So inclusion to me is where everyone from different backgrounds, races, sexes, they could come together and work together and not say, I'm not going to work with that person because of this reason, or just have like preempted biases or unconscious biases against someone. It's just that, this other person is a human from a different walk of life than I am, and they could teach me something, or I could learn something, or I could teach them something, and we could work together and build great things together. And I think that's the only way to really innovate for a better world, because if you just think of like one person from one kind of experience, then the rest of the world doesn't get changed or impacted or supported. There's trillions of economies out there. There's parts of the world that we still haven't even touched. And just if we can't even sit at the table together, then how are we going to really solve the bigger issues, climate change or greenhouse gases, or all these different things that can literally end all of our lives? How can we even get to that point? We can't even say, okay, I could have a decent conversation with someone else from a different experience at a table with us. So just building it into the fabric from now and forever and beyond.
No, I mean that's a very, very interesting perspective, because one of the, I guess, common taglines for companies, I guess, is, one of the common sayings that they say, we're trying to do this to change the world, right? And yet companies aren't, they don't take diversity seriously. And it's like, you do understand that as a white male, that within the world itself, that you are pretty much a minority. So how are you planning on changing the world when you don't know, about other cultures, or you can't understand other cultures, or you have these biases, unconscious or otherwise, that you have towards people? Like, how do you plan on really changing the world if you don't understand the people that you're trying to reach? So that's I actually never heard that, but that's a very interesting perspective.
Yeah, and just to add on real quick, another mantra that we had was build with, not for. Whereas a lot of companies, they come in and say, example, I was just in the Caribbean a couple of days ago, and like I said, I was born and raised in Jamaica. Someone will go into Jamaica and say, these Jamaicans, they need technology, they need X, Y, and Z, and they'll build this infrastructure without ever asking the community, ever asking anyone what they truly need and how they can support them. And then, 3 years later, not even 5 years, 2, 3 years later, it's not being used. The facility is broken down. The people aren't using it the way it was instructed to use, and then they wonder why. And it's because you never really asked them to bring your version of the world into this new community or this new ecosystem, and it didn't work. This is not how the world works. You can't bring, try to grow an apple tree in like the middle of Antarctica or something. It's just not going to grow. So you have to be able to adapt to different ecosystems and economies and understand that people are different and being open to seeing what they understand about their own economy and then how you can help them build that. It's like a really huge part of it.
Definitely. So what's kind of next for you? You've got your startup, Illicit Minds, and what's next for you? Are you doing something after Illicit Minds, or are you embarking on another startup? Tell us more about that.
So right now we're at like a influx point with Illicit Mind, and we're scaling. We're at a point where we're actually generating a decent amount of revenue and profiting. So I think the next step is to really scale out this company to a point where, if I could say 7 figures would be nice, maybe 8. That would be nice, and then from there, once it's at a point where it could run itself and we could, have like a good team, a small business team, I would like to embark upon something new. And I have, done projects in total. I've started about 6 or 7 ventures. I co-founded 6 or 7 ventures in the last 5, 6 years. And so, I do enjoy starting new businesses. So once we get this, I want to focus on this in my right now, and scale it to a point, again, where we have some commas. And from there, probably step down from being CEO, start something new, because I do really, really love the feeling of starting business, something similar as buying the domain, getting the team going, launching those, I really love those moments. So I do see myself starting a lot more companies in the future. I want to focus on growing this one for now.
Excellent. And kind of how can people, if they want to get in contact with you, if they want to check out the site, give us your Twitter handles if you want to give that out, your site URL. Yes. So our website is illicit, illicitmind.com, and on all social media you can find us at Illicit Mind Inc., all one word. And if you want to find me personally and follow me, on all social media, I am at Georgie B. Humble. So GeorgieBehumble. Tweet me, like my photos, share my stuff on Facebook, and I'll return the favor. And looking forward to connect with folks. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is very open. I'll give that too. It's just Georgie@illicitmind.com. Say hello, say what's up. I'm here and always ready to help and support in any way I can. I just want to see everybody win, and remember to keep, dreaming and doing. So less dreaming, more doing, and let's get to the point of a better world, and more technology, and more inclusion and diversity. Excellent. Well, I certainly want to thank you for joining me on this podcast. I know there was a couple of hiccups in us getting this done, but we finally got on the books, and I appreciate your patience and that whole thing, and I wish you luck in the future, and maybe you can maybe submit I don't know if you do speaking, like public speaking and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm actually starting to do a little bit more now, so I'm definitely open to opportunities like that. Yeah, I'd love if you could share that with me. Thank you.
Thank you as well, Georgie-Ann. And that does it for this episode of the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast. I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. I also want to thank Georgie-Ann Getton-McKoy for being an excellent guest on this podcast episode. and we wish her the best of luck in the future. If you have any suggestions for us, anyone you want to see on our podcast, send those suggestions to us at contactus@blacksintechnology.net. Also a reminder, BitCon 2018 tickets are on sale. So check out bitcon2018.com and purchase your tickets immediately. We are going to have a fantastic conference, and we want you all to be in attendance to enjoy. That does it for us. See you next time. Like always, tech yourself before you wreck yourself. Take care.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.